Thank you. You too. All right. Shuffle my papers. So we have West Haven on the line. Mayor? And
Yes,
company?
I'm still here.
Perfect.
I'm still here. I don't know if anybody else is on, but I am.
Yes,
There you go.
yes. Frank, Lee Tiernan, and Michael Malone are on as well.
Hello, Michael.
Hi, good morning.
And hello, Lee.
Morning, Kim.
How are you?
Getting by, getting by.
The town of West Haven, we did have a subcommittee meeting on October the 20th. Julian has provided a nice update for us on that subcommittee, but I will let him update you on the details, and I can piggyback if needed or comment. Go ahead, Julian.
Sure. So the last meeting, it consisted of the routine items, the updates on the corrective action plan, and the human resources action plan, update on the FY20 close and audit process. The city's projecting meeting the December 31st deadline for the audit completion and submittal. And then we also took a very preliminary look at some projections for the Board of Ed potentially making the shift to the state partnership health plan. So this continues the process that the city started, probably a year plus ago. They transitioned their active employees over to the state partnership plan January of 2020. The Board of Education, the Ellington Fire Department, and all retirees have not made that shift. So there's an ongoing process to take a fresh look at those groups to determine whether some or all of them makes business sense to make the shift over in July of 2021. So we received some data from a report that Siegel prepared for the Board of Ed, and then what will happen next is the Board of Ed, in concert with the city and also Mike Malone providing support, will take those projections and begin to develop a recommendation on whether or not to make the move, or for a portion or all of the Board of Ed employees. That recommendation would be presented right now at a subsequent subcommittee meeting. We're looking at possibly the November meeting, but we have what looks like it may be a full agenda for that meeting. So possibly the December subcommittee meeting, and then that would be followed by, if the recommendation is made to make the transfer or the transition over to the partnership plan, that there would be a detailed plan for the transition completed by February, the end of February. It would give the Board of Ed time to make the preparations for that transition. So those are the next steps for that. We do have the fire districts lined up for the next subcommittee meeting in a couple weeks. We are anticipating getting presentations on their updated actuarial evaluations for pension and for OPEB, and also an update on the status of the tri-district MOU that was drafted, and the last we heard was going to be acted upon by the district commissions in October. So we're anticipating covering those items in a couple of weeks, and then following that, the following meeting with the partnership issue.
Thanks, Julian. Yep, thank you. Julian, just so you're aware and for the record, if I recall, I'm not sure that OPEB was going to come forward at that time. I think only pension was based on the arrangements that they had made with their actuary. I think that we were going to get the OPEB later on. I didn't think we were going to get both reports at the same time. But Julian and I also had two follow-up meetings, two separate meetings, one with the town as well as with the Board of Ed. And Mike Malone, thank you for, it's great to have you back, and coordinating these things and making sure that we get back on track with some of those open items that we have concerning the HR study, the ADP, and him being a point person to keep things pulled together and get them back on track is really good. I had some concerns about the ADP project, so I'm just going to make folks aware of that right now. And so we had a good, healthy discussion about that, and I think that before we get into the monthly reports, I'm going to ask the mayor, because she spoke to me prior to this meeting, to give an update in that area so that she knows that I think her and Frank were both having some concerns about this project, and I know the Board of Ed was as well. So, Mayor, would you like to just give an update? I think part of it falls around the fact that we had a log jam concerning filling a position.
Correct. Can you hear me okay?
I can, Mayor.
Okay. Yes, and as we spoke a little bit earlier before the meeting, one of the main problems was we did not have, the benefits coordinator, and we didn't really have anybody in the position. And Lee is also on this call, so him and I talked, and he did get in touch with a consultant that actually joined the ADP meeting yesterday, and was very, you could tell by the questions she asked, very much in tune with ADP, has a lot of experience with ADP and HR, and so she's coming on board now as a temporary. We don't know where, the position's going to go, but we did need somebody ASAP. We needed them, like I said to Kim yesterday, and we actually got somebody yesterday, so that we can continue on, because we don't want to, stall the ADP process. We want to keep moving forward. And so those were my concerns, and I talked with Frank and Lee, and this was the avenue we took right now, because it was better to have some experienced temporary person in there for a short-term assignment. And I don't know where to lead. So far, as I said, I was very impressed, and I think Lee Tiernan was as well, and Frank, because they were all on the ADP meeting. We are having another ADP meeting. We have them every week at my request, because originally it was every 2 weeks. That's the one that I'm on. Plus, additionally, they have other meetings that they are conducting with Frank and some of our other personnel. So I don't know if Frank or Lee want to add anything to it, but at least I feel a lot more comfortable today than I did a week ago this time.
Yeah, hi, Kim.
Thank you, Mayor.
Lee Tiernan, hi, everybody. So I'll give a shout out to a private enterprise during this COVID time. We reached out to Merit Staffing. They provided us with resumes of 6 candidates. We think we plucked the best one with the best fit. She's here now. I could bring her in and introduce you if you want, but she's got a lot of work to do, so I won't. She will be on the ADP call today, and will continue with us until we either fill the position with another qualified person in the union, another qualified person from outside the union, or we are going to let her apply as an outside person if she so desires. But we are happy. She actually stumped the ADP people with questions yesterday, so we do feel we at least have a qualified person who can help lead us to the transition, and she's coordinating with our staff as we speak.
Thank you. This is good news. All right, any questions? I just wanted to make sure that the MARB members were aware that I had some great concerns about the ADP project, as the report was showing that a lot of the deliverables were now beginning to come in late and without a point person as a staff, as a project lead, and the shortage in vacancies and the lack of ability to be able to fill the vacant positions. I think that there were too much falling on the existing finance staff. to take on this huge project in addition. So if we don't have any questions, we can move on to the monthly financials.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So you should have in front of you the financial report. You'll see that tax collections that had started out very slow in the year, they have come back, and they are at currently 51.5% of the annual tax budget. That number is consistent with the last 5 years. The average is 51.52. So I'm very pleased to see that. As I noted, even if in the January payments we see a shortfall through the escrows, people not able to pay their mortgage, etc., the city does have in place a process around selling liens, although obviously we would not want to do that. It is helpful to the city. That pretty much, I won't say guarantees the income from that, but it does provide a safety net, and it does provide a level of security. So if there is any shortfall to the tax collections, that would be reflected in this year's lien sales. From the expenditure side, I'm not seeing anything yet that would cause concern. The city is currently showing approximately 26% of its expenditures for the year. That compares to 28% last year. Some of that is timing, and I'm digging into the details around that. But that would suggest to me that based on the history, the year-end projections are still sound. Nothing has come out to bite us yet. I'm not seeing anything on the Board of Ed side. You have the detailed report there. They are consistent with prior spending, although, as I note, it's difficult to compare the Board of Education year over year because of the audit adjustments that happened last year. So the fiscal 19, the audit adjustment was put in. From the accounting treatment, those are reversed in the fiscal 20 actuals, so that the actual payments bounce up against that. So until we normalize those payments, it's going to be a difficult comparison, but we're working through that. And the Board of Ed at this point has not indicated that they are coming off their year-end number. So from a financial perspective, both the city and the Board of Ed are healthy. The sewer fund, you'll see, is in the similar situation. The tax collections are in line with prior year. Expenditures have not come off the rails yet. We did end the year with an unaudited surplus in the sewer fund. Hopefully we will have that again. On the Allentown fire, you'll see that, again, the same story as the other two funds, in line with prior year, although if you just look at the total number, the revenue numbers are up because of the additional monies obtained by Representative DeMassa. So overall, year over year, the absolute numbers are up, but still in line. Spending as well. The spending is up regarding the additional monies. As you may recall from the budget, we had projected $900,000 coming in. $650,000 of that was to be dedicated as an additional contribution to the pension fund. That has been sent, and those expenses are reflected there. $250,000 is held in a capital fund for Allentown to deal with any additional projects they may have. At the last council meeting, the actual number came in at $956,000. The budget was $900,000. So the council allocated those additional funds. They are currently holding it in reserve in Allentown in the contingency area. If there are no needed expenses to be covered, no unanticipated expenses, the anticipation is that additional 56,000 will also be sent in as a contribution to the pension plan. So from a financial perspective, as of the end of 3 months, I think the city is doing well.
Let me just add.
Yep. And Lee has one further addition.
Yeah, Kim, just quick, because I know Ms. McCall was always interested in this. In addition to what Frank said on the revenue side, we're going to have our first tax sale. It probably looks like it's going to go in February, but as the process goes, usually you start collecting some money prior to the sale because of the notice issues. But anyway, it's going to be in February. It's 50 properties that have not historically been picked up by the lien holders when we do the lien sale. So that should be an additional buffer should we hit rough road due to COVID as time goes on.
Thank you for that update.
Any questions from the board members for City of West Haven?
Yeah, this is Steve Felsigno. I just have a quick question, and this is just, I'm just asking for their opinion on what they might, or what they're, we keep talking about possible shortfalls due to tax collections with the COVID issue. Is there a number that Frank or the group has in mind that they're anticipating to try to mitigate against, or is it, do they have a number in mind that they're thinking of that might become an issue? Or if they, and hopefully there isn't an issue, but if there is there a number in their mind that they're thinking of?
Yeah, Mr. Falsigno, Lee Tiernan. I think that as we looked at this, and I think that, I looked at how Mayor Bronin also and his people approached this, and I looked at the historical data. I think if there is an issue based, and I'm going by the 09 recession, because that's our best available data, it would be, we think it would be in the area of a 0.5%, or for our view, it would be like a $500,000 shortfall. If there is going to be a shortfall. And that's, again, that's all I have to go on is the 09 recession and what we saw falling back. It was only a 1-year dip. We just saw the problem in that 1 year. So,
Right.
property, as you,
That makes sense.
yeah, as you know, property sales are,
That makes sense.
everybody's taken, the property sales are up on the residential side and so on and so forth. So, I don't know if we're going to get the hit even in July. I think we're going to get some sort of hit eventually, but if we get a stimulus, though, that could change. So who knows?
Sure.
And
Okay.
the only reason I mentioned that,
Thank
Mr. Felsigno, is that roughly 50% of the tax collection comes through escrow. And so obviously with COVID, kind of late in the year, I was not anticipating much of an impact on the January payments. If anything happens, I think it would be in the July payment time frame. And but fingers crossed. I'm not seeing anything yet. So
Okay, that's great. At least you have a number in mind. That's,
Yep.
I always like to ask what people are anticipating. So, thank you.
Anybody else that have questions? I have questions on the Board of Ed. Is Matt on the line today?
doesn't sound like it. I could pass along a question for you, Kim.
Do you happen to know what is the mayor, do you happen to know the same question that we asked the other two towns, which is the COVID, are you doing a hybrid model? Are you for education? And with the uptick, are you making any changes?
I don't have that information, Mayor, or do you have that?
As far as I know, when I attended the meeting a couple of months ago when they first started, and they were going, I believe, most of the day to like 1:30, and then they were going home. They were getting lunches, and they were having in person. We did have a few different positives in different schools, and for that period of time, whether it needed to be quarantined for a few days or however, the superintendent followed all of the protocol. So as far as I know, they are still doing in-person learning, but we can find out definitively after the call. I can contact Neil.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if they're going to change their model with the uptick. I do know, Michael, when we were on the phone with him, he did say that his goal is to try to remain open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did say that.
Okay. Also convey, please, that it is important that they attend these meetings. Or have a representative that can speak on their behalf. Okay. If nobody has any questions, we can go on to the next agenda item, which is the non-labor contract that we have for Motorola. And the city forwarded this contract over the weekend. And at this time, because it was coming in late in the game, we really don't have any explanation or background information. We are aware that they were having some, Frank, you brought to our attention the extreme need to do some upgrading in that area. But can you give us a brief description of what this contract is about and the terms of the contract and, maintenance versus regular, what were we doing in the past, the cost?
Sure. So the dispatch system was installed, I believe, 5 years ago, roughly. At the time, the city did not take out a maintenance contract on this. As some of you may know, the dispatch system is a computer-based system, so obviously as upgrades are required, those would normally be covered under a service contract along with any needed repairs. The city opted to go with a billable need using a qualified Motorola service provider. But what we're finding is that the software is so out of date now, they can no longer just upgrade it. It needed to be reinstalled to the new version. That was a desperate situation. If the dispatch system went down...
Shut up!
I'm sorry?
We're having background noise.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Please go on mute.
So obviously if the dispatch system goes down, that affects both fire and police. So we reached out to Motorola. They did finally take our call. And so the contract that's in front of you is a 5-year maintenance contract. The monies are covered for the upgrade that's needed. That was in the fiscal 20 budget that has been moved to the capital plans into the multi-year. So that money is covered. We have the money in the current year budget that will cover this. In discussions with Motorola, I was able to, I won't say get the price, but I can tell you from my experience in the service business that a 5-year service contract with no price increase is practically unheard of. So
Right.
I am extremely satisfied and extremely comfortable with the pricing on this. And I think it's a needed it's a needed system upgrade, and it is a budgeted line item. So there will be no impact. In fact, the cost to the current year is actually slightly lower than we budgeted. So
Okay.
yeah, so I don't see a financial downside. I don't see a dispatch downside from doing this. The contract will be with Motorola, which will include all service and repairs that are needed. and yeah, and going forward, that would include all of the normal upgrades that would happen to their software. So it's I think it's an extremely satisfying contract from the city side.
I agree, based on the problems we were having, and it could have been really detrimental to the city. Did this all take? This is due to transpire, right? This particular contract is going in front of City Council
On Monday night.
very soon, right?
Monday night, correct.
Monday night. Okay.
They have already been made aware of it. They just not have given the final approval to the contract, and so we're just dotting our I's and crossing our T's with that.
Okay. And well, you don't want to put the city at risk, as you've pretty much probably have been on the edge for a number of years with this particular service.
Yes.
So, Frank, thank you for definitely rising this to the highest level, as you know that it was much needed. What is the annual cost right at this moment? Because I saw two different figures in the package. The original figure I saw was about, I think it was like 290, but I think that was at the quote, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like every year afterwards it's about 159K.
That's correct.
For the 5 years.
That's
as
correct.
the maintenance service.
So,
But I didn't know with the upgrade costs and everything in the first year what that was.
it came out to roughly $256,000. 90,000 was covered from last year's budget. The remainder is covered in this year's budget.
Okay.
And they ate an invoice.
What?
They ate an outstanding invoice.
Oh, yes, and one thing to note is that Motorola did assume responsibility for an outstanding invoice for one of the service providers.
Okay.
The other good thing about this, I think, financially, is having the maintenance number stable. From a budgeting perspective, it's much cleaner.
Right. I don't have any additional questions. How about the board members, please? I don't hear any. When is, if this gets approved, when is this upgrade going to occur, Frank?
Jen, are you on the phone?
I am, sir.
Do you have an
When
answer?
is it going to be completed? Is that was the question?
When was it going to be started?
They're going to start it as soon as possible. Motorola would like this to begin before the first of the year. Otherwise, she has to change those quarterly prices with you again. And then it would obviously extend that contract out a little bit further. So ideally, as soon as they could fix the repairs that were done in error initially, as soon as they could do that, they can start the upgrade. So I don't have an exact date because they have to see how long it's going to take to fix the mistake. But they would like it to be by the first of the year.
Okay.
So Motorola is ready to go, Kim, and as soon as I get approval, as soon as I get approval from the council, which I don't anticipate a rejection, the purchase order will be cut and Motorola will start getting into gear.
Very good. Well, hopefully they will make the right decision so that this way we don't leave the city at risk in that area, especially if you have some repairs that are much needed right now.
Yes.
Very much needed, ma'am.
Okay. No other questions from the board members?
Kim, can I be heard on one thing? And it's not about this, but I did reach out to Neil, and I asked him what the plan for the school still the same. Does he plan on making any changes due to the upset? He wrote back, good question. We have seen an uptick in the schools. So far, we can cover the classes when we quarantine. We're watching it closely. If I can't get coverage, that will force me to close individual schools. Today, there is a conference call at 2 p.m. with all cities in either orange or red. I want to hear what they have to say. So he's still doing the in-person, and that is his plan right now, but he'll know more after 2, so we can convey whatever comes out of his meeting then to the MARB members.
Thank you. Mayor, send a message on or have Neil send a message on to Julian, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for following up. We appreciate that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is number 7, and it is other business. And we had enclosed our subcommittee listing of our...
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
And, we'll be talking, I'm sure, really soon. Good luck on Monday night.
Thank you, ma'am.
You are no longer muted.
Thank you.
I did a listing of the subcommittee members, and from that listing, we like to put this out there, and at the next meeting, be able to hear your feedback and the actual, if you want to continue on the subcommittees that...
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
A listing of attendances for the meetings, as we have had a little bit of struggle with the subcommittee for West Haven, and on 3 occasions we did not have a quorum this past year. So I don't want it to feel as if it's a push, but I would like to make sure that those that are interested in being on the meeting, hopefully you can attend those meetings. And if not, you got an opportunity to make a shift right at this very moment. I do think that if the board member doesn't select the towns that they want to be on, or they're not present because it's had an impact on some of our meetings, then, or maybe the meeting times don't meet your schedule, then if that is the case, we appreciate that you'll be there, and at least this way we can have an awareness that it could cause an impact. So, and if a board member doesn't give us a selection of a meeting and haven't been in attendance, I'm not going to have you be slotted to a meeting of a subcommittee, because it's really hurting the quorum, and we didn't get your vote to stay there. So I have a feeling that maybe the meeting dates are causing some trouble for some folks, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. The MARB meetings, we've only had to cancel 1, so we've had some really great attendance with the full MARB. Hartford, everybody has been quite active in the Hartford board. Sprague, they only met a few times this past year. We didn't have a problem there. The biggest one being the West Haven one. Julian, do you have anything to add to that conversation?
I do not.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board members?
You are no longer muted.
To adjourn.
That was done. A motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Who was the second?
Matt Brockman.
Well, Matt, I didn't know you were here, so...
I joined like a few minutes late.
Okay, very good, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I'm sure there's no opposed. Thank you, and have a good weekend.
Thank you,
Stay
everyone.
safe, everybody.
Yeah.
How do you turn off in here?
Yeah, and I'll get the margin to come in and turn that off. I'll turn off